What happens when the two most recognizable faces on QVC become the most polarizing and most criticized hosts on the network? Not just one, not a villain versus a fan favorite, but two of the most hated QVC hosts, squaring off in what fans are calling the ultimate downfall of the channel's golden era. This isn't gossip. This is a story about how two long-standing icons, Treacy and Shawn Killinger, went from beloved to berated, and the real reason behind the wave of frustration fans are sharing online. So buckle up. Today we're unpacking why so many viewers have turned on both Jane and Shawn, and what this battle reveals about the soul of QVC. Let's start with the obvious. Something has shifted in how viewers feel. Go to any community thread, any Reddit discussion, any Facebook fan group, you'll see the same names come up again and again. Treacy, Shawn Killinger, and the comments aren't kind. One fan commented, "Jane is unbearable now." Another wrote, "Shawn needs to go." A frustrated viewer added, "This is not the QVC I remember." Why has the tide turned? It's not one moment, it's years of evolving behavior, personality shifts, and on-air blunders that gradually broke viewer trust. Let's take a closer look at each host and why they've earned this controversial title. Treacy, from comforting to condescending. Treacy was once QVC royalty, the comforting voice of fashion. Known for her soft laugh, gentle tone, and fashion expertise, she was the woman you watched with your mom, your sister, your best friend. But somewhere along the way, Jane's charm started to wear thin. The complaints began to pile up. Viewers said she constantly talked about her daughters, even during segments that had nothing to do with family. Others pointed out how she interrupted guests and co-hosts. More and more, her product presentations were overpowered by long-winded personal stories. And then came the now infamous moment. During a live show, Jane leaned into the camera and addressed critics of her daughters, saying, "Don't even show up, I'm coming to find you." It wasn't playful, it wasn't funny. For many, it came off as threatening, and QVC said nothing. That silence only made it worse. Viewers began labeling her defensive, entitled, and aggressive. What once felt like a kind aunt now felt like a lecturing principal. One viewer commented, "She acts like she owns the place. So condescending." Still, some fans remain loyal. They say Jane is just being protective, that after decades of public life, she deserves to draw boundaries. But even her supporters admit, Jane's delivery has changed, and not for the better. Shawn Killinger, raw or reckless? Now, let's talk about Shawn. Shawn Killinger is QVC's unpredictable wildcard. For years, she's brought an offbeat, casual energy to the channel. She's quirky, emotional, and painfully honest. But that honesty, it's a double-edged sword. Because recently, Shawn took oversharing to the next level. In one segment, she discussed personal health issues, including hemorrhoids, while selling beauty products. It wasn't a quick slip, it was detailed, graphic, and, according to many fans, completely unnecessary. Viewer comments ranged from shocked to disgusted. A quick pause. If you want to stay updated on all things QVC, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, like this video and drop a comment below to share your thoughts. And for even more insider content, join our channel membership today. Now, back to the investigation. One fan said, "That was so gross." Another asked, "Why is this happening on a shopping show?" And another wrote, "We tune in for products, not medical journals." For some, this was just Shawn being Shawn, but for many, it crossed a line. And like Jane, Shawn has a pattern. She interrupts guests, talks over product details, shares personal opinions that derail the show, and makes jokes that fall flat, or worse, offend. One commenter called her a train wreck you can't stop watching. Another described her as narcissistic and cringeworthy. Others say she's real, relatable, the only one not faking it. But whether you love her or loathe her, Shawn has become one of the most controversial hosts in QVC history. The showdown, Jane versus Shawn. So here's the clash. Jane represents tradition, control, and polished hosting. Shawn represents disruption, chaos, and unfiltered authenticity. Jane clings to authority. Shawn thrives in unpredictability. Jane tells long, sentimental stories. Shawn blurts out personal confessions. Jane alienates viewers with a tone that feels superior. Shawn alienates viewers with details that feel inappropriate. In short, they've become mirror opposites, and yet equally polarizing. One fan summed it up perfectly. Jane lectures, Shawn overshares, I don't know who's worse. And that's the heart of this most hated host battle. It's not one against the other, it's both of them, dragging QVC into a credibility crisis. When both of your most visible hosts are also your most hated, you don't just have a host problem, you have a network problem. Jane and Shawn aren't just individuals, they represent opposite ends of QVC's evolving brand. Jane stands for the old guard, comfort, elegance, a sense of tradition. Shawn stands for the new era, casual, raw, experimental. But neither seems to be working anymore. Older fans feel Jane is no longer kind or classy. Younger fans feel Shawn is too raw, too much. And QVC, they're caught in the middle. Tia, here's the real issue. Viewers don't just hate Jane or Shawn for one moment. They're reacting to a broader shift at QVC. Longtime hosts have been quietly let go. Names like Antonella Nestor, Lisa Robertson, and others left gaps viewers still talk about. Many felt betrayed when their favorites disappeared with little explanation. Programming is becoming more scripted, less personal. Segments once filled with genuine conversations now feel like infomercials. Social media has become a battleground for criticism. Where fans once swapped shopping tips, they now vent frustrations about hosts who talk too much or don't sell the product. And QVC's leadership, they've stayed silent. In 2025, QVC launched a major digital rebrand. They introduced the QVC Group, merged operations with HSN, and doubled down on TikTok-style influencers. But instead of bridging generations, the change widened the gap. Older fans said, I don't want TikTok energy in my living room. Younger fans said, this feels fake compared to YouTube reviews. And caught in the spotlight were Jane and Shawn, not because they adapted, but because they didn't. Jane clung harder to tradition. Shawn leaned further into chaos. And fans on both sides said, enough. Nope, the backlash isn't quiet. It's loud, consistent, and impossible to ignore. One frustrated viewer wrote, Jane acts like she owns the place. So condescending. Another fan said, Shawn needs to stop talking about herself and start selling the product. A longtime customer shared, QVC isn't fun anymore. It's exhausting. Another added, I mute the TV every time Jane comes on. One more viewer wrote, Shawn is just gross, I can't watch. And finally, someone asked, where are the professional hosts? These aren't isolated rants. They're a pattern. And they're coming from the very people who once made QVC a billion-dollar brand, loyal, dedicated viewers. So here's the big question. Is QVC paying attention? There's been no public apology from Jane, no course correction from Shawn, no acknowledgement from QVC. And that silence, it's driving fans further away. Some are switching to competitors like Shop HQ or JTV. Some have just stopped watching. Others are rallying for change, calling for new hosts, cleaner formats, and more respect for the audience. But so far, QVC has doubled down. They've given Shawn her own podcast, they've continued featuring Jane in prime slots, they've acted like nothing's wrong. But everything is wrong, because when both of your top hosts are polarizing and your viewers are turning off the channel, it's time to take a hard look in the mirror. Can QVC fix this? Maybe. But it won't be easy. First, accountability. Jane and Shawn need coaching, boundaries, guidance. Whether it's public apologies or private corrections, something has to shift. Second, fresh talent. QVC needs to invest in new hosts who bring authenticity and professionalism, people who can connect without crossing lines. Third, real feedback. The company must listen to viewers, not just likes and shares, but real conversations happening in fan groups and forums. Fourth, brand clarity. QVC must decide what kind of network it wants to be. Comforting, bold, funny. It can't be all things to all people, because right now, it's just confusing. Shawn Killinger and Jane Treacy are not enemies, but they are both symbols of a bigger problem. When trusted voices become distractions, when connection becomes conflict, and when personalities overshadow products, it's no longer about shopping, it's about ego. And that's what viewers hate the most. They don't tune in for drama, they don't want lectures or gross-out confessions. They want storytelling, style, escape. They want QVC to feel like home again. So the question isn't who's worse, Jane or Shawn? The question is, how much longer will QVC ignore the noise? Because fans are done waiting, and if change doesn't come soon, they won't just stop watching Jane or Shawn, they'll stop watching QVC altogether. Thanks for watching. If this video resonated with you, drop a comment below. Tell us, who do you think is the most disliked QVC host, and why? Smash that like button. Subscribe for more real talk about your favorite shopping shows. And don't forget, you, the viewer, have the final word. We'll see you next time.